What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering, and I like Dean Cain. I'm tired of anti-Americanism in entertainment. I think that it's absolutely fair and, in fact, good overall to criticize your own country of origin. Now, obviously, I know I have a lot of viewers that aren't from the United States, but I think this qualifies to, would translate to everywhere. No country is perfect. And accepting that, I think, is totally fine. But somehow in the United States, at least, and I know in some other questions or other nations, I've heard people share similar stories. There's this kind of narrative that is like not just like, hey, we did some stupid stuff in the past, but like actively anti-American or anti-Italian or whatever. The self-hating, it's bizarre to me, and I don't know why it has to always be like conservative people who are coming out and saying like maybe we've gone too far, maybe like destroying the legacy of Captain America to stick it to Trump, is like maybe that's not really accomplishing anything that you think it is. We all know how many of these superheroes simply become avatars for these woke weirdos that Marvel and DC continue to hire. But Dean Cain recently did an interview on Fox talking about, he's being tired of wokeism and being anti-American. You can see, of course, Captain America and New Comic. We talked about this over the 4th of July. America's built on lies. The first American dream is that one that isn't even real. It's just one some people expect to be handed to them, when the truth is it never really existed in the first place. Other cultures, immigrants. We're at our best when we keep no one out. A good dream is shared radically, shared with everyone. When something isn't shared, it becomes the American lie. And then, Dean Cain, this is kind of his shtick nowadays. I mean, I've got love for the guy, no disrespect, but I really wish there were more people than Dean Cain coming out and to the defense of this country. I think that you run a fine line here, because you don't want to censor these comic book artists and writers. I don't want to get to a point where we're saying you can't criticize America, you can't criticize politicians. I don't think that's healthy. But I wonder if maybe, taking Superman or Captain America to do so is the correct thing to do, ethically, to essentially borrow the credibility of a fictitious character to push your own political ideology because your name carries no weight, is an act of pure cowardice, in my opinion. A lot of these do-nothing modern-day comic book pros don't have a following. They don't have notoriety. They come and go as often as the sun rises and sets in the comic book industry, because they're not really there to do anything creative or change any minds or do anything interesting. What they're there to do is maintain the status quo with little to no oversight. And what happens is you've got this group, this in-group, who all have the same politics, hiring the same other people with the same politics. Now, I don't, and this is not me saying, well, we need more conservatives doing comic books. No, that's not the answer. The answer is getting comic book artists whose political alignment is not immediately known by reading a few pages of their books. Now, if they want to do this with their own original characters, I 100% support it. Remember that J. Aubrey guy? Is a real commie piece of garbage, ruining G.I. Joe. Well, he went off to do some comic book called like Beefcake Bros or something like that. I love it. I actually 100% support it. Now, I'm not going to buy his communist dreck, but at least he's not ruining G.I. Joe and making it, something that it isn't. Again, borrowing the credibility of an established character to push your your Marxist beliefs and to disparage America is particularly egregious. Now, the Joe fandom is not small, and they saw this and they hated it. And you have the same thing here. I'm tired of anti-Americanism. Superman actor unloads on new woke Captain America. Dean Cain is the greatest Superman of this generation that's ever known. Well, I don't think so. I think that's subjective. Dean Cain is great. Henry Cavill, in my opinion, could have been great if DC gave a damn about Superman, but you know why they don't. In more ways than one. Not only do they not to take away from the actor on Superman and Lois, which is surprisingly an excerpt modern day story about the Man of Steel, but if you asked Henry Cavill and Brandon Roth if they would rather square up against Kane or get thrown off a house, they'd take the latter. The Adventures of Lois and Clark star asked about Marvel's new woke direction with the Captain America. It appears Cap is all the boo-boo faced these days he's all boo-boo faced about the country he's supposed to be the captain of. Dean Cain, not a fan. Quote, I love the concept of Captain America, but I'm so tired of all this wokeness and anti-Americanism. I agree with Senator Tom Cotton, who was on a couple days ago, who said that perhaps the captain needs to be demoted to lieutenant. The cool thing to do today is to bash America. The comic books do it. The schools indoctrinate our kids. They do that. Our movies, our television shows is full of it. Celebrities, actors, athletes, and the media, they love to bash America. Progressive activists have been using comic books to validate their soggiest of dreams for some time now. It's always seemed odd to me because comic book writers have never been, quote, conservative, or if some were, it was rare as it was in every other form of entertainment. Yet, they let people be entertained with their stories and not be beaten upside the head with a political agenda. Liberal, I'm not going to say that word, these days believe that every platform must be used to promote their worldview. If not, you'll hear about it on Twitter. Now, we saw this with the Chuck Dixon interview or YouTube video where he basically unloaded on American comics as, as these avatars for these losers and full of modern day politics. I always assumed Superman would whoop Captain America upside the head in a fight, possibly insert his shield in a very uncomfortable spot. Now I know Dean Cain can and would do the same. I mean, I think, it's a fine line. I don't think that I want to go to the position where, go to the spot where I'm saying that comic books shouldn't be allowed to tell this story. But I do think it's important to point out that when you hand over a beloved character, you should have some responsibility to the original fandom of that character. And letting some loser who's never done anything on their own merit come in and kind of change that character and disparage that character so they can get their own political agendas in out to a wider group of people, I think has some ethical concerns. Your job is not to talk about politics, it's to entertain your viewers. I have the same job. My job is to entertain. My job is not to tell you what to think. And I'm so grateful that you all allow me to continue to do this job. The single most powerful way that you can keep that, I'm going to ask on a Friday because, hey, it's Friday. And I think if you don't ask, you don't get. But there's two ways that you can support the channel, and I would ask that if you're in a position to, you consider right after this video following one of the appropriate links and helping out. There is, of course, joining the YouTube channel, which you see as a button down here. It's just like a subscribe star or Patreon, and also I have a subscribe star. If you're in a position to, and you like the content that I do, and you want to help out, and you want to keep, Maggie and the thumbnail, Ben, thumbnail guy, and Sean, the editor, and everybody floating along. This is a extremely powerful way to help. And if you're not in a position to or don't want to, that's absolutely cool too. But if you are, I feel like, I'll come to you sincerely and say, if you are in a position to, please do consider joining the channel today or joining the Subscribe Star today. It would be immensely appreciated. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll talk to you again real soon.